Hello and welcome to my bakery. This week we want to bake super delicious butter crescents. That means today in the evening I will prepare a predough and a flour custard. And I decided for the crescents not to use milk but oat milk. You can decide, of course you can just use normal milk, yeah? Okay, so here I have 130 grams of oat milk. I'll put it into the bowl. Then there's 1 gram of yeast. So this is a very small amount. It's like a bigger pea, yeah. Okay, that goes in. And 215 grams of wheat flour type 550. So I will knead these 3 ingredients until they are nicely mixed and can be formed in a bowl. So switch off the machine and you see it's a rather tight, tough dough. We'll put it into a bowl, cover it and leave it at room temperature for 9 to 12 hours. So ideally overnight. Next, we'll prepare the flour custard. That is like a pudding, but you don't use pudding powder or custard powder, but flour. So we'll put 85 grams of sugar into a smaller pot, then 16 grams of salt, then spelt flour 630, and that is 45 grams. I will sieve it so that it doesn't form lumps when I'm boiling it. Oh. I'm using oat milk again, 250 grams. Add that, whisk it, and then we'll go over to the stove. So as with a custard, a sweet custard, you need to stir nicely that it doesn't form lumps. So you can see that our custard has thickened like a thick pudding. Good. So that's it. So what we do now is again clean the edge of the pot. You can leave it in the pot or you can transfer it to a bowl, but normally it's not necessary. What is super urgent and what you should really do is use cling film and don't cover the pot, but put this cling film directly on the custard. So like this. Why do we do this? When you put the cling film directly onto the custard, doesn't matter if it's a vanilla custard, chocolate custard, or flour custard for baking bread, you avoid that that a skin forms on top, yeah, and that's what we don't want to have. And so now we'll leave the pot or the bowl also overnight at room temperature. So again, 9 to 12 hours like our pre-dough. So 12 hours after preparing the pre-dough and the flour custard, we'll continue with the main dough. And we'll put the flour custard into the kneading machine. So here again, the scraper is a good help, and also your spatula. You could, as an alternative, also prepare the pre-dough and the flour custard in the morning, make the main dough in the evening, and shape the crescents, prepare everything, and then put them into the fridge, and you could bake them in the morning for breakfast. So this is the alternative to baking at midday. Good. Here we have our pre-dough. It has risen nicely. You can see the bubbles. So we'll put that into the kneading machine as well. Scrape it out. Okay. Then we'll add 3 eggs size M, 600 grams of wheat flour type 550, 55 grams of oat milk or normal milk. And with the yeast, we also have 2 alternatives. Either you use 17 grams of yeast, or for those of you who have their sourdough starter, you can use 10 grams of yeast and 70 grams of your sourdough starter from the fridge. Good. So that's everything for the moment. So we'll switch on the kneading machine, mix it for about 3 minutes, and then we'll turn the speed up. So I've kneaded the dough slowly for 3 minutes now, and at medium speed for 5 minutes. And I'll switch off the kneading machine. And now I want to show you the window pane test. So the window pane test, or Fenstertest in German, is a procedure where you can check if the dough has risen nicely. And you put water on your fingers and take a little bit of the dough. And then you try to carefully tear it or pull it apart. And then you see if it doesn't tear, it looks like this. Yeah, that is the window pane test. Good. So that means when you can do the window pane test, your dough is ready for the butter. If not, if it tears and you cannot pull it apart slowly, if you get holes in it, then just knead it for another 2 minutes or so. Okay, and now we'll add the butter. That is 260 grams. You put it in and start kneading. And I would suggest start with 5 minutes and then we will do another window pane test. So, after 6 minutes, the dough is not yet ready, I think. Well, maybe another minute or two. So I've kneaded the dough fast for 8 minutes now, and I think it's good. So we can do the test again. Yeah, that's perfect. Good. So the dough will rest now for 1 hour, and therefore you can just leave it in your kneading bowl. You don't need to transfer it to the proofing basket because we don't need to stretch and fold it. So cover it, let it rest for 1 hour at room temperature, and then we'll continue. So the dough has risen now for 1 hour, and we'll put it on the table, on the work surface. Don't use too much flour. So, and then we'll cut off 100-gram pieces. Dust the surface a bit. So now we have 18 pieces, and we shape them first into rolls. And put them either on the surface or on a dough cloth. So you remember from the Sunday rolls, you put the outside to the middle and turn the dough piece at the same time. Then we'll turn it over, go away from the flour, and start to roll it until you feel that the surface tightens. Like this. So it should be a smooth surface. Again, like this, turn over and start to roll until you feel that it's nice and tight. You need a little bit of pressure, and then it looks like this, nice and smooth. So you see that there's very little flour on the work surface. If there's too much flour, let me try to show you. You just slide over the work face and you cannot really shape the dough or the roll. If this happens, go away from the flour, press a little bit more until you feel that it's like this. So, and the last one. Now, after shaping 18 of these rolls, you should be able to do that. If the surface looks like a potato, then it's not right. Good. Now these beauties will be covered and rest for 10 minutes, and then we'll continue. I've prepared my parchment paper, and I need a larger and a smaller piece because my punched baking tray, where I want to bake the crescents, is bigger. Yeah, so prepare that, and we will put the crescents right onto the parchment paper so that they continue to rise. Good. So we'll take a bowl, put a little bit of flour on the surface, and then we'll roll it. And now you can really use a bit of flour. We want to have an oval shape like this. If there is too much flour on it, on the surface, just brush it off, and then you go under and you pull the sides apart. And we want to form a kind of a croissant. Yeah? So tightly roll it. And when you feel that you can roll it with two hands, take your left hand to the spike, pull it, and then roll it. And that's it. And we only turn it over a bit so that it looks like a crescent. Okay, number one done. Again, a little bit of flour. Turn it over. Roll it. Now it's nice and thin. Pull the edges apart. Oh, maybe there's a bit too much flour. If there's too much flour, they will start rolling in the wrong direction. So that means it wouldn't stick. Still a bit too much. Okay, and now I'll pull the upper edge away and roll it and form a crescent. You can also roll it out to the sides a bit. So now we are done. 18 pieces. You should now cover them and leave them at room temperature so that they can rise to almost double the size. About 2 hours. It depends, of course, on the temperature in your kitchen. Maybe it's also 2.5. But don't forget to switch on the oven, to preheat the oven, depending on where you want to bake. If it's a baking tray or a punched baking tray, then about half an hour before you want to bake the first batch. If you are using your fire brick, then you should start preheating 45 minutes before you want to put the crescents into the oven. and you should switch the oven to 220 degrees upper and lower heat. So the crescents have now risen for 2 hours, and I started preheating the oven half an hour ago with the punched baking tray. It's at 220 degrees. I'll take out the baking tray and try to carefully slide the crescents onto the tray. Okay, excellent. And now we want to spray water onto the crescents. Put them in. Spray water in again and turn the temperature down immediately to 180 degrees. They will now bake for about 17 to 18 minutes. Just check in time what they look like, and it also depends on how yellow or brown you would like your crescents to be. So the crescents have been in the oven for 18 minutes now. I'll take them out and look at these. Oh. Then we'll turn the temperature up again to 220 degrees. And then we'll bake the second batch. So, round 2. I've heated the oven up to 220 degrees again. Put the second baking tray in. Spray water in again. And don't forget to turn the temperature down to 180. So I'll take the second batch out of the oven. And wow, they look beautiful too. Okay. So, good. Let's try. Look, the bottom is nice and yellowish. Color's good. Buttery. Soft. Wow, look at that. Wow. Excellent. Super delicious. Very fluffy, buttery. If you want to, you could also add vanilla or lemon peel, but I find it nice as it is. Enjoy baking!